What we had to do on the road. I thought it was a really good second half for us in terms of defensive accountability. Offensively, very efficient. Obviously had a few turnovers late, but held the team 3 threes. Did a much better job on boards. That will be huge for tomorrow night's game. The Hoosiers do a great job of offensive rebounding, but it's on to Indiana and another fairly quick turn. But that's the norm in this year's Big Ten with the shortened calendar. So Indiana obviously picked to win the league. They've had a little bit of an up and down year. They do have the best player in the league, as voted on in the preseason. And Trace, he's having a phenomenal year. Anytime you get 24 rebounds in a game is a pretty dominant performance. We all know his athleticism. And then Shafino Hood, a freshman, has had maybe as good a year as any freshman, not just the Big Ten, but in the country. So there's some veterans. Obviously, Miller Kopp has been around the league for a while. Excellent shooter. And so we're going to have to play extremely well. A team that protects the rim extremely well, does a great job of blocking shots. And a team that anytime you've got Trace on it in the post, can cause you some problems. So we'll have to be dialed in. We'll have to keep them off the glass, keep them out of transition, and should be another tough Big Ten game.
What do you feel like in his toolbox, especially as a freshman, has allowed Ty to kind of be a defensive specialist for you, even at such a young age?
He's tough. He's gritty. Ty impacted winning maybe as much as any player I saw on the circuit coming in, and he did it. Led his team to the championship at Peach Jam. He's guarding some of the best players in the country, and he took great pride in that. You look at what he did with USA Basketball. He was invaluable in his role on that team, and offensively, very good passer. He's got great instincts. He's not afraid to stick his nose in there. He's tough. And you look at the other 9 in Minnesota. He's guarding their point guard, and then he's guarding Dawson. And so that versatility at 6'6", 6'7", that wingspan, that strength, he still continues to grow in understanding what teams are doing. He's growing a lot in that point of view. But again, he's ultra competitive and he's really tough.
Coach, how do you like your bench matched up against their bench? It seems like with their injuries, that's a key for your team.
Yeah, I don't. I haven't looked at it that way. I like our bench against anybody. So I think that it's one of the things that we've shown productivity. It doesn't always show in points. Jaden provides that. RJ provides that. But it can be adding some defensive stopper mentality, some toughness, some grit. I like our bench. I think we've been very solid there.
And then they score a lot of points in the paint. Do they feed the post? They drive the ball, or a combination of both?
A lot. I had Trace. I'd throw him the ball too. And Trace is a very unselfish player. He's turned into an elite passer. You kind of pick your poison with him. Trace is very capable of getting a rebound and bringing it in transition. And this is a team again that offensive rebounds. You get points in the paint when you offensive rebound. Geronimo, Renaud, all those guys do a great job on the glass. So a lot of points in the paint, and it all starts with Trace.
What's different about them without Race?
Obviously Race is a good player, and he's older and dirt. He's a guy that's been around, and he's played in a lot of games, and he's a guy that has worked really hard on his game. He was stepping out and making threes early in his career. He didn't have to guard him out there. That sets up a pretty good high-low tandem with him and Trace. But you lose a veteran and you lose that much experience and that many games, and it's a loss for them.
What's the balance between trying to limit Trace Jackson Davis and not letting anybody else get going?
We do what we do. We do what we do. You know, I think we've established that, you know, we're not going to be, you know, we're going to do what we do. I mean, we obviously he's a good player. We're going to have some guys. He's going to score some points. You're not going to shut him out. And you've got to make things as difficult as you can, but you can't give him the easy ones. You can't give him the transition run out dunks. You can't give him the second chance points, and those are the things that you've got to try to eliminate the best you can.
So, Trace, you mentioned in Stan, what kind of a test is this for getting after the run he's had?
It's every night in this league, not just Trace. I mean, you know, it's a, you know, you're talking about 2 nights ago it was a McDonald's All-American, you know, in Dawson Garcia. You're talking about, you know, the three-headed monster that is Michigan State. You're talking about, you know, Wisconsin's guys. It doesn't matter. It's just the next one up. And this one just happens to be really athletic and a 4-year starter. And so it's his athleticism is unique. He's extremely quick, quick twitch off the ground. His second jump is maybe as good as anybody in college basketball. So got to guard him without fouling and make his opportunities tough.
You mentioned the turnaround, and when Michigan State was here, Tom Izzo talked about the schedule and, you know, the rapid success. What do you think about just kind of how that's developed into so many games so frequently?
Unavoidable. I mean, you're talking about the shortest calendar year we've had. You know, unless you're going to start taking away MTEs and playing games over Thanksgiving, or coming right back after Christmas and slamming games in there. It's just the way the calendar fell this year. I think we're 4 or 5 days shorter in total number of days to play the games, and you try to mix in a bye somewhere in there, and all of a sudden you get 6 games in whatever we have, 18 or I think tomorrow will be our 19th straight day, and so you start slamming those games in there, and it gets pretty challenging, and you know I'm sure our guys love it. You know, they're not practicing, but it is pretty hectic, and now we've started school, and that was the time to do it when you didn't have classes.
I know it's easier than ever to find filling out people, but for the freshmen and the transfers, guys who opponents have never seen in Big Ten plays, they're almost a little bit of an advantage to, you know, first time going against an opposing team. Yeah, the opponent doesn't know exactly what they look like, just knows on film what they look like, basically.
Yeah, I think that's minimal. You know, I think that, you know, we watch so much film with our guys that, you know, I think they feel like that, you know, they all know the guys from the circuit or wherever, but yeah, I don't think that's too big a deal. There's obviously a little comfort, familiarity, but you know, it's probably over exaggerated.
Chester hasn't been afraid to speak out about what this Indiana rivalry means to him. What have you kind of sensed from the fan bases about what this game means, Brad?
Yeah, Chester's got the unique advantage of playing in it, and you know, but I think it's 2 great programs. It's 2 historic programs, and you know, I know as a kid I always used to watch Lou and Bobby go at it, and that was fun, and it was to have history like that and tradition. Both our fan bases are extremely passionate. They're great, and to me, this is what makes college basketball fun.
The new guys, young or transfers, does it need to be passed on to them, the importance of this rivalry, at least to the fan base, or is it better they don't know?
No, I think it's for them. You try to keep it just another game, but they know our fans. You know, you're not keeping players, your kids today off social media, so you know they pick up on that, and you know they know Indiana was picked ahead of them, and they know Indiana's good, and you know, but it's one of those 20 nights we got to go play and perform and try to be better on that night.
You mentioned those preseason predictions, I guess, twice. Like, how much do you, I know you say you don't care, but like obviously there's some degree of they know, like how much do you kind of balance feeding into that versus
Yeah, it's the first time I brought it up all year because they were picked to win the league. I mean, they're good. I mean, there's a team with 90, I mean, they're one of the oldest teams in the country. They got 90 I don't know what the number was, 90+% of their scoring back, and you know, we've got none. So, you know, or very little. So they were picked one for a reason, and you know, we don't beat our guys up with it, but you know, it's something that it's the respect that everybody knows where they were picked.
In terms of running an offense, is there still value in a guy that maybe fits that point guard mold? As the game has kind of changed.
Yeah, probably. I think it's more about who can pass and who can't, as much as what you can. You don't have to be 6 foot or 7 foot. You know, to have a position or a label put on you. I think it's more about, you know, can you pass? Do you have feel? Can you make the right reads? Can you, you know, it's advantageous to have guys who can pass, and you know, if they can handle the ball and do those things, then I guess you call them a point guard. But I think there's an advantage. I don't think there's a big disadvantage. I don't know. I think you're a good player or you're not.
I mean, you've got a lot of guys that can take a defensive rebound, push it themselves, initiate the offense. Do you see that trickling down more in
Yeah.
college basketball?
Oh, it's an NBA thing. I think there's no doubt. I think there's a huge advantage to that. I mean, we've tried to do that here the last 3 or 4 years. Is you know, going out there, get guys that can push, and yet it looks good pushing it, but the end result has to be a great decision, and not everybody can make those decisions, and that's where we've got to continue to grow. But I think in the overall thing, you know, you look at Trace and you know what he does, and you look at different guys around the league, and it's becoming more positionless, but it's also becoming you know, the trickle down effect from what they see at the next level as well.
Seems like defending Trace without fouling him is a key. How do you approach that? Put multiple guys on him?
Sure, we'll have. I mean, won't just be one guy guarding him. You know, you've got to guard him without fouling. It's one of the disappointing things we did in the last game. I think we had 6 slaps, 6 reaches, which is totally uncalled for, and we've got to get out of that habit. It's a bad one. Fouls are defensive mistakes, and we want to make teams. We had 3 where we were in the circle in the arc, and we didn't jump. You know, we just stuck a hip you can't make those plays, and got to make teams and make players put the ball in the basket and without fouling. So, yeah, we got to keep from fouling Trace. That's for sure.
Is it fair to compare Ty's role and what you're asking him to do with what you asked DeMonte to do? Is that fair, or are you asking him to do different things?
Very similar in the fact that they can play a lot of positions. Ty's bigger.
Right.
You know, and DeMonte grew into really that role. He was a little different as a freshman because he wasn't 220, 225 pounds like Ty, and that strong. DeMonte became a guy who could bench press the building and squat the building, and great strength in his lower half. But you know, he's probably ahead of DeMonte at this time because of just size and strength. But yeah, a lot of the same concepts.
James will take care of the ball pretty well in the past games. How important has it been for your kind of freshman league guard to be able to kind of get the offense moving?
Yeah, that's maturity and growth and understanding, and we've got a Jaden starting to come in the office and ask questions and talk more, and what do you think about this, and what's your thoughts here, and man, and when you start doing that, you start getting comfortable. So you start understanding where people are at, and you stop making those little unforced turnovers, and I don't ever want him to be cautious playing. I want him to be aggressive and know that, you know, you're gonna live with 1 or 2, but yeah, he's really starting to have a great understanding.
What are the biggest factors from this 3-game win streak that you're looking to take into the game against Indiana?
You know, we gotta keep guarding. Defense wins, and you know, we've done a lot of things better. We haven't turned the ball over as much. We've been very selective in terms of picking our spots in transition. I think that's been a help, but I think we've started stacking longer periods of good play together, and that's what we want to keep seeing. So we haven't had the drops when we've gone to our bench and or we've subbed this guy out or that guy out. We've had foul trouble. You know, whatever the case may be, we've avoided those, and that's been a big piece to help us continue to grow.